Humans carry stranger objects than plasma grenades, rasped the customs inspector, his 3 eye stalks, turning toward the unzipped pack. His partners leaned closer, mandibles tapping, but none dared stretch a claw further. The human girl stayed still, on the far side of the counter, hands folded neatly like a pupil, caught scribbling notes in class. Looked young, no older than 19. Hair tied in a rough knot, face set, with a calmness that bordered on boredom. Around them the starport thrummed with scents, chatter and dazzling lights. Inside the screening bay the air tightened. The officers had searched human luggage countless times, snacks, garments, tiny gadgets, sometimes even banned caffeine dust, quirky remnants of a species adjusting to deep space life. But this moment was not the same. Inspector's claw drew out a carefully folded strip of dark fabric, and the room went silent. First glance it looked ordinary, creases crisp and flat. Then they spotted the badge sewn close to the collar, faintly glimmering in the cold overhead glow. They froze, yet immense in meaning, the symbol of the Terran Expeditionary Corps, that human branch whispered of in hushed breaths across the void. The girl tipped her head, watching without the faintest sign of concern. "Issue?" she asked, her voice light, tinged with amusement. No one replied. The senior officer, his scales dulled by years, stretched a quivering limb toward it but stopped. He knew the legends, colonies, holding out against raiders until aid arrived long months later. Whole worlds retaken from marauders who had sworn their sieges unbreakable. Humans, they said, did not battle like others. They fought like trapped beasts, their fury spreading like wildfire. And yet here, before him, was not a scarred veteran, but a young woman, her pack spilling cheap sweets and scribbled notebooks. His mandibles clicked uneasily. "This cannot be yours," he muttered, praying his words true. "Can't it?" she asked, her tone playful though layered with something far heavier. A junior officer shuffled nervously. One whispered, "If she wore it." Another hissed, "Then we are already lost." The elder silenced them with a glare, though his pulse hammered loud. He had never believed the tales completely. They were surely exaggerations, tales spun by frightened smugglers along the trade lanes. Yet this uniform was authentic without hope. The girl calmly extended her hand, plucked it from his claws and pressed it to her chest. Her slight frame made it appear too large, yet her grip was steady. She stroked the crease with her thumb before tucking it back as if it were sacred. "I didn't think customs would mind laundry," she murmured. The officers traded uneasy looks. Nearby, a traveler slowed, felt the tension, and quickly hurried away. "You will explain," the elder croaked. "Gladly," she answered, sealing her bag. "But only if you can listen without shaking." A younger inspector bristled, mandibles clattering, ready to snap a reply, until the elder hushed him with raised claw. He had caught something in her gaze. Not arrogance, not malice, but a stillness far too old for her years. He had glimpsed that look once, in survivors of a siege, souls who had endured fire and yet returned. "What is your name?" he asked, almost reverent. "Mara," she said simply. "Mara Solin." The name meant nothing to them, but its weight echoed when spoken aloud. Mara slid the strap onto her shoulder and stepped aside, awaiting release. Her manner suggested their decision was already known to her, their authority less important than they believed. Around them the port roared again. Hawkers shouting, ships rising, fuel lines venting. Yet in that chamber, time dragged slow. The younger whispered, fiercely, "Sir, we can't let her go. If she is what she hints, if she holds, if she truly is." The elder cut him. "Then walls would not bar her. Stopping her would only mark us. Let her pass." Mara smiled faintly as though she'd heard every syllable. He turned toward the exit, her stride unhurried, certain. The walk of one who never fears pursuit. The inspectors stood motionless, unable to measure their rank against the power implied by that folded cloth. As the doors closed, the youngest breathed out. "Do you think she was one of them?" The elder lingered in silence, eyes fixed on the sealed entry. Last he whispered, "Pray she is not for our sake, and pray she is, for if true, then when peril comes one might still stand within the flames for us." Outside, Mara drifted into the crowds, calm among the swirl of alien throngs. But the weight she carried was not in sweets, nor books, nor folded cloth. Was the dread she left behind with each up. And deep within the station's maze, eyes began to follow her path. Whispers traveled fast in places where life depended on rumor. Less than an hour later, the first tale spread. Dockhand swore he'd glimpsed a human girl bearing the corps insignia. By the time she reached the housing tiers, the rumor was already racing ahead of her, passing from mouths to tendrils to quivering antennae. Some swore she was an officer traveling undercover. Others insisted she was a deserter, and a few claimed secret orders were stitched within the seams of her attire. Mara ignored them all. She drifted through the jammed walkways of the station as if strolling a street back home, though the air reeked of fuel, metal oils, and too many species crushed together. She slipped into a quiet food stall, ordered nothing fiercer than a steaming cup of bitter leaf tea, and settled into corner seat. Her pack rested against her legs while her eyes studied the swarm outside the stall's window. Neither concealed nor displayed the bag. It sat in plain sight, as if daring any to question it. A trio of merchants glanced in, then quickly averted their An avian courier froze mid-stride before scurrying on. Even the vendor avoided her gaze when placing the cup. Mara drank in silence, content to let the station twist itself into rumors. At a nearby table, two traders muttered in their own dialect. They assumed she could not follow, yet her ear caught more than they guessed. Asterisk uniform. Saw it once during Heli's prime. Whole ranks shattered at its sight. Asterisk his companion. Snap back. Asterisk fool, hush. She hears. You're marked. Asterisk Mara allowed herself the faintest curve of a smile. The truth was simpler than their legends, though no less perilous. The uniform was genuine. She had received it on Earth in a hall, heavy with ceremony and expectation. But she had never stood on front lines. Her duty had been quieter, though no less crucial. One of those roles the galaxy forgot until absence proved its worth. She folded it with care because it reminded her of those days, not from a desire to frighten. Yet she knew well that perception outweighed truth. Her mind wandered back to the officers. At inspection, claws halted midair, fear bright in their gaze. That fear would spread, and sooner or later someone bolder than the rest would test it. As she finished her tea, one such figure slid into the seat opposite. Not a soldier nor guard, but a sleek-scaled broker with gleaming eyes. You carry something precious, he said at once. Many would pay to touch it. More would pay to know you do not. Mara lowered her cup, tilting her head. And which are you? The broker's grin flashed needle-thin teeth. Asterisk I am one who lives by guessing right. Maybe you are a collector. Maybe you are true core. Either way, beware. I's trail you. Asterisk. Mara leaned forward slightly, her tone steady, conversational. Do you believe I'm core? The broker hesitated. He longed to dismiss her as a fraud, yet memory clawed at him. The insignia lit. Under port lamps, the certainty in her. I think, he said slowly, that if you are, my wisest move is leaving before I draw her fire. Wise, Mara agreed. She reached into her pocket, slid a single wrapped sweet across the table. For the warning. The broker blinked, snatched it, then vanished into the press of bodies. Rising, Mara adjusted her pack. Enough. Notice had been drawn here, lingering. Would invite more. The housing corridors gave way to industrial stretches, pipes hissing above, machines groaning beneath. Walked with intent, but without hurry. Workers pressing aside at her passing. They noticed the bag first, her face second. That was fine. Let the uniform guard her more than armor ever could. But then, turning a corner, she felt it. Shadows lengthened behind. Steps fell into rhythm with hers. He slowed, allowing pursuit to close. Trio of hard-eyed mercenaries emerged. Weapons sheathed but fingers twitching. You! One bark. Girl with the pack. Open it. Mara halted, pivoted calmly to meet. Her gaze skimmed their patched armor, frayed cloth, the look of guns. For hire, dangerous in numbers, in need, but not in skill. You could just ask, she said lightly. The largest sneered. I'm asking. Oh, is the cloth? Prove the talk true or we take the bag. Her hand rested lazily on the strap. She made no move to lift it. And if it is true, she asked. The mercenaries shifted. Rumor had fueled their courage, but truth gnawed at it. One spat. Then we sell word of. Someone will pay. Mara studied them a moment. Then with no warning she unzipped the pack and drew the dark garment into view, raising it so the insignia caught the dim glow. The effect was instant. The mercenaries flinched as though she had bared steel. Their expressions twisted with awe and fear. For a breath no one moved. Then Mara folded it again with care, tucked it back and sealed the pack. Now you know, she said softly. So decide. Will you scatter and whisper like timid children, or will you turn away and live another day? The mercenaries shot each other panicked looks. One breathed, she's core. Another spat a warning, don't speak it aloud. Moments, their counterfeit courage shattered. They spun around and rushed off, disappearing into the labyrinth of. Mira shifted her pack and kept walking. Her expression never changed. But inside she tracked the spreading fear rippling outward like water. Disturb. The uniform had surfaced again, and rumors would only multiply. The whole station would soon be watching. That was no obstacle, it was exactly the effect she wanted. By the next cycle, the port hummed like an agitated hive. Mira sensed it in the air as she moved. How voices died mid-sentence when she passed. How clusters opened, letting her through as though she carried plague fire. The tale had mutated overnight. No longer just a girl. With a core uniform, she was an agent, sent to unearth corruption. Some swore she bore codes to collapse entire fleets. Others whispered she was bait, a snare laid by the core to expose hidden traitors. Mira glided among these tales. Without denial or admission, she let the myths swell because myths were tools. That morning her path led to the central hub where trade guilds nailed contracts and governments planted banners. Hall, where greed and ambition walked in the open. Her arrival stirred attention. Felt eyes lock on her as she crossed the gleaming floor and stopped before the posting boards. The weight of her pack pressed between her shoulders, memory of last night's standoff still sharp. Those mercs had run from folded cloth. If they had thought longer, they'd have laughed themselves. But image outshines logic. And she meant to wield it. Girl. Word came low from the crowd. Mira turned as a towering reptilian enforcer strode forward, 2 aides in tow. His scarred scales glimmered, his dented armor battered yet strong. He wasn't a Kinchaser. He bore the mark of a syndicate, one of the station's rooted powers. Word says you carry something dangerous, he rumbled loud enough for all to hear. Mira's eyes stayed calm. Word outruns ships, she replied. His gaze narrowed. Rumor frightens fools. Seek truth. Open the pack. A circle tightened around them. Some leaned in, hungry for drama. Others edged away, bracing for chaos. Mira weighed her options. Yield too fast and her control would crumble. Refuse outright and she risked revealing more than she wanted. Instead, she eased the strap free and set the bag on the table. She unzipped, slow, drawing the silence taut. The enforcer bent closer, nostrils wide. Mira tugged the fabric out just far enough, the insignia catching the light. The crowd's murmur thickened. Whispered, some gasped. Few bowed, their heads unconsciously. The enforcer, Tiffin. He longed to sneer, to name it forgery, but his aides shuffled, betraying unease. His power slipped in. That instant, not by threat but because she required none. The emblem itself commanded. She caught his stare, her voice steady. Truth isn't in cloth. Truth is in how it bends men. She slid the fabric back in and sealed the pack. You've had your truth. All eyes turned to the enforcer. Would he lash out? Flee? His choice would ripple outward. After a beat, he snorted and stepped back. Keep your truth, girl. But don't stay long. Many will want more than words. He wheeled away, subordinates quick to follow. Mira gathered her pack, steady, yet her mind measured the outcome. Hadn't just avoided battle, she'd turned fear into spectacle. Every witness would retell the story of the uniform of the enforcer who stepped back. That was influence no coin could buy. Later, in the quieter levels of the habitation ring, Mira sensed shadows trailing her. This time, the followers were not common cutthroats or ruffians. They moved with disciplined feet, their strides even, their armor unscarred by random fights. They answered to someone with means. Mira slowed, letting them close, then slipped into a maintenance corridor where the crowd thinned. The leader, a narrow-faced alien, pale-skinned with piercing eyes, stepped forward. Mara Solin, he said in a clipped tone. You've stirred more in a day than most do in years. Our employer requests an audience. Mara arched an eyebrow. Employer? Alien. Inclined his head. A patron who prizes keen sight as highly as blunt force. Come willingly, and you will remain unharmed. She counted 4. In total, all disciplined, all armed. She could fight, but not against trained escorts without drawing more notice than she wanted. An invitation could be opportunity. Very well, Mara said. She tightened her pack and followed as they wound up through corridors to a private chamber above the trading floor. Rich textiles hung from the walls and a heavy scent filled the air. At the room's center sat a figure swathed in silk, ageless in the way wealth often looks, surrounded by armed guards. So, the figure purred, voice smooth as oil. The girl with the uniform arrives. Tell me, Mara Solin, do you grasp what you carry? Mara did not bow. She stepped forward so her words carried. Better than you, she said. You see cloth and think of rank. I see it in recall. Those who wore it before me The patron chuckled. Awfully. You speak well, but words will not keep you safe. Every faction here debates whether to court you or cut you down. You could topple guilds with a whisper, or you could be ended beneath their knives. Mara let the silence stretch. Then what do you want? She asked. Leaning forward, the patron's eyes gleamed. I want the galaxy to believe you are exactly what they fear. And I want you to decide if you can bear the weight of that fear. The words hung like the low hum of the station, steady, charged. Mara stood, bag across her shoulder, the folded uniform a small, insistent shape under the fabric. Guards held their weapons lax but ready, watching with a blend of caution and curiosity. You think I seek fear? Mara said finally, quiet and clear. That's false. Fear serves only when it forces action. Fear without aim burns out. The patron tilted their head, silk slipping from their arms like water. And yet you roam these halls and nurture the tales. You show the uniform. You do not quash the rumors. You cultivate them. Perhaps, Mara replied. I only remind people of what already lived in their minds. They do not fear me. They fear what I stand for. Patron's smile held no warmth. Representation is influence. Those who bend symbols bend reality. I could use you. Mara measured the figure. Such an offer was expected. Power always desired tokens that made others tremble. But she had not come to bend herself beneath another banner. If I let you claim me, if I wear this for you, what then? She asked. The patron's eyes glittered. I would parade you through the market tiers. I would seat you at my table so rival syndicates see you. Would whisper to governors that a core emissary sits with me. They would bow not to me but to the shadow cast. Through you I would stand one step closer to rule. Their voice was steady. And if I told you you cannot own a shadow, that even seated by my side the whispers would be mine to steer. The guards shifted, glancing to their master. The patron's smile lost its edge. Then I would choose whether to keep you alive or erase you before the rumors slipped beyond my reach. Tension coiled in the room. Mara felt every gaze press in. But she did not flinch. Slowly she unshouldered her bag and set it on the table. Her fingers unzipped with calm. The sound cut the hush. She drew out the uniform, folded with precise care, insignia catching the lamplight. She did not raise it. Instead she smoothed it flat on the table, her palm passing over the fabric. Symbols, she said softly, are not the property of the wealthy. They do not belong to the loud. They belong to those who bled for them. Her eyes locked on the patron. This cloth is not yours to wield. It keeps the memory of those who marched into wars and left scars across worlds. And it belongs to me because I stood beside them and carry what they left behind. The patron's composure cracked. Uncertainty flickered for the first time. The guards tensed but did not move. Mara reached back into the bag and drew out a small, frayed patch bearing the same emblem. She held it between two fingers. This was given to me by one who did not return, she said. He asked, only that I carry it forward. Would you have me trade that? Wait for a seat at your table. The chamber fell utterly quiet. So quiet the ventilation's faint hum seemed distant. The patron shifted slightly, their expression altering as the question landed, their silks whispering soft as rain. At last the patron exhaled. You speak as if legend, they said. No, Mara replied, steady. I speak as one who remembers. Memory outlasts fear, she knew. She folded the uniform again with the same careful hands, reverent as if closing a book, then slid it back into her pack. She zipped it, slung the strap over her shoulder, and turned for the door. The guards made no move to bar her. The patron remained seated, silenced by an outcome they had not foreseen. Refusal without spectacle, authority without menace. Mara left the chamber the way she had entered the port on her first morning, unhurried, composed, carrying a bag heavier with rumor than fabric. By the time she rejoined the main thoroughfares, word had already spread anew. Some swore she had humbled a syndicate lord. Others claimed she pledged allegiance to none. A few insisted she had conjured the Corps' specters to haunt those who crossed her. Mara offered no correction. She let the fables climb higher. Through the throng, merchants made room, travelers hushed, children peered from behind knees. Her eyes stayed forward, her stride even. The station thrummed with awe, dread, and conjecture, none of it binding her steps. The wider galaxy would learn of this place soon enough. The human girl who carried a uniform in her pack and moved like shadow among crowds. Some would hunt her to bend or buy or silence. Others would whisper her name to steady themselves. That was fine. That had always been the design. Mara melted into the endless arteries of the station. Her bag a quiet weight at her side. There was no weapon inside, no hidden cipher to topple stars, only cloth. Yet in the minds of those who had seen it, that cloth outweighed armadas. As long as she bore it near, the galaxy would continue to tremble.